Welcome back to BNC World Headquarters. You're watching Ladies First, the talk show that keeps you motivated, informed, and entertained. In international news, many Brazilians showed their discontent with the government by banging pots and pans from their windows. Their president has been heavily criticized by the way he's handling the coronavirus crisis. Last Sunday, in an interview with CNN affiliate CNN Brazil, Bolsonaro called preventative measures such as banning mass events hysteria and said that the economy came first. His supporters also staged a pro-government pot-banging session later in the evening. Turmoil in Guyana after their national elections resulted in chaos after claims of fraud. The current government, led by President David Granger, claims they won despite a very tight race that left the international community claiming a recount is necessary. A court in Guyana has issued a temporary injunction blocking a vote recount in the disputed general election that has paralyzed government operations amid an oil boom in that South American country. The injunction led the 15-nation Caribbean Community Trade Group to withdraw a special team of electoral officials that had been given the task of recounting nearly 450,000 ballots from the March 2nd election. The U.S. government and groups including the Organization of American States have called for a recount and hinted at sanctions if any president is sworn in with no resolution of the dispute. In Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has agreed to bipartisan talks with opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar tomorrow regarding the current national crisis caused by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The issues she intends to discuss, which she outlined in a letter to Rowley, include social services, labor, and medical impacting on citizens, and concerns of various small and medium-sized business entities whose economic viability are severely threatened by the virus, and to discuss any other suggestions from both the government and opposition that are relevant and necessary to ensure that any adopted bipartisan approach is legally plausible to effectively combat COVID-19. And Jamaica has recorded its first COVID-19 death, the Ministry of Health announced this afternoon. A 79-year-old man died today after his condition started to deteriorate. He was being prepared to be transferred to the University of West Indies Hospital for intensive care when he passed away. The man had diabetes and hypertension and had returned from New York. He had tested positive today, and meanwhile, 2 more positive cases have also been confirmed, bringing the country's total confirmed COVID-19 cases to 15. Barbados today, they announced 3 new cases. The UK government has attempted to play down the prospect of an imminent lockdown in London, one day after Prime Minister Boris Johnson declined to rule out stricter measures for the city. Today, the Prime Minister's spokesman said there was zero prospect of any restrictions on travel in and out of London, and that there were no plans to shut down its transport network. However, the city's transport authority had already closed parts of London's tube network. All professional football in England will be postponed until at least April 30th. This was announced in a joint statement from England's football's governing bodies on Thursday. The current season had already been postponed until Friday, April 3rd, but it was recently decided that the postponement should be extended. So lots happening on the international scene, not just here in the United States, but you can see around the world, people are worried about coronavirus. They're doing whatever they can to take measures and precautions. We're seeing that countries are doing these restrictions, not just here in the United States, where we're restricted from going to certain places. A lot of parts of the country, bars, restaurants closed. Around the world, you can see everybody is trying to figure out how to deal with this. Welcome back to Ladies First. We're going to get you caught up on some financial news. That was the sound of the closing bell. The markets closed with modest gains today after a day of volatility that appears to have become the norm on Wall Street. The Dow moved more than 1,200 points during trading before settling on a 188-point gain for the day. That's just shy of 1%. The S&P 500 gained just 0.5%, while the Nasdaq picked up 2.3%. The European Union wants video platforms, including Netflix, to slow down streaming during the coronavirus pandemic to keep the internet from crashing. Officials are asking the platforms to stop showing video in high definition. Hundreds of millions of people are working from home, and even more children are out of school. The result has been unprecedented internet usage and intense strain on bandwidth. European Commissioner Terry Breton is also asking that viewers switch to standard definition when HD is not necessary. Breton says he's spoken with Netflix CEO Reed Hastings, and a Netflix spokesperson says Hastings and Breton will talk again on Thursday. Restaurant and fast food stocks have taken a hit. McDonald's, Wendy's, and Olive Garden stocks all down. The National Restaurant Association is projecting $225 billion in lost sales over the next 3 months. But pizza delivery is up, with Papa John's offering sealed boxes and delivery without you having to be in physical contact with the driver. And in fact, Papa John's says they are doing well and they are hiring. And you're no doubt seeing extremely low prices at the gas pump, but the oil industry is experiencing one of the biggest oil crashes in history, and some say the worst is yet to come. After more than a decade of global demand and growth, there's been a severe plunge in oil prices due to both the coronavirus outbreak, but also a flood of supply because of a battle between Saudi Arabia and Russia for market share. Oil is about $25 a barrel, but experts say it could go as low as $5. That means much cheaper gas prices. And still to come, we have tips on how to cope with anxiety during the COVID-19 outbreak. Stay with us. Ladies First will be right back. Welcome back to BNC World Headquarters. While many questions about COVID-19 still remain unanswered, a new study is confirming what doctors have already noticed since the novel coronavirus started infecting people. Children aren't getting as sick from the virus as adults. Children in China with COVID-19 showed less severe symptoms than adults, but infants and toddlers were vulnerable to moderate and severe infection, according to a new study in the Medical Journal of Pediatrics. Researchers examined more than 2,100 confirmed and suspected cases of the novel coronavirus in children, reported to China's CDC. Nearly 6% of those cases were severe, and there was one death, compared to 18.5% of adults experiencing severe symptoms. Young children, particularly infants, were vulnerable to COVID-19 infection, the researchers say. For cases in infants less than 1 year old, nearly 11% were severe and critical. More than 90% of all pediatric patients were asymptomatic, mild or moderate cases. And about 13% of child patients who tested positive for the virus did not show symptoms of illness. Researchers are still trying to determine why children with COVID-19 are not as sick as adults. According to the CDC, COVID-19 symptoms typically appear 2 to 14 days after exposure and include fever, cough, and shortness of breath.